All right. Welcome to January's Cards and Channeling Meetup. As you know, I'm always a day late and $1 short, but I get there. So that is all that matters. Today, audience, we will be doing the monthly read. We'll see what decks want to come in. You know, it's Black History Month, so the black decks were like, mwah. Okay. Oh, and Dust to Onyx, naturally. Okay, give me a second here. We will see what the monthly read is with Manzel Bowman's Tarot, which you should be familiar with by now, and the Dust to Onyx Tarot, which is by Courtney Alexander, who is very, very fabulous. That's the Dust to Onyx deck. So let's see what we need to know for the shortest month of the year. In a year that's already very moving very quickly, because it's already February and it's already the shortest month of the year, which means it'll be March in no time. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see what there is to read about February for the people. Okay. Let's see who's who at the zoo. Okay, and then Dust to Onyx will be our key card. Feeling like that one. This will be one of these. No. This one. Okay. That feels like 2 cards. It is 2 cards. Okay. All right. So our concern card for February, what is objective, if such a thing exists? What is objectively going on? And for our first card from Manzel's Tarot, we have, the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so as you know, I read aces high. So for me, the 2s start the suit and the aces finish the suit before the major arcana. And aces, as I have been taught about them, are typically considered like a bonus, like a good thing, a blessing, a boon, shall I say? But the difference is that I always like to say is aces are only a boon if you're playing the right game, right? Because if you're playing Scrabble, an ace doesn't mean shit, which is just to say that you don't have to play poker, but that you should be playing your game. And if you're playing your game, then this is a skill or a quality of yours that, oh my humidifier showing. This is a skill or a quality of yours that will essentially not only assist you, but sort of like pay it forward, like appreciate in value. And I just like I break down my queens, like we're building a house or if we're throwing a party. I've been thinking about the aces recently. I wanted to break down the kings in the same way, but of course men are late to the party, so I can't get the masculine read on that. But with aces, I feel like if it's the Ace of Swords, we're talking like Megan Thee Stallion, right? Like it doesn't matter what dirt they throw in your name, your victory will ring clear regardless of the naysayers. Okay, that's kind of Ace of Swords, because swords is about the mind, intellect, integrity, reputation, ego, right? So when we're talking about the Ace of Swords and that being a boon, it's like even if people are talking shit about you, your reputation will be resilient in the end. Then when we're dealing like with the Ace of Wands, then we're dealing more with like a Beyonce, right? Because it's like everybody knows, everybody is speaking about your reputation. Like the masses know, because Wands deals with us and the populaces, right? Like the different sort of social circles and communities, as individual groups and as a collective groups, but not as the whole group, which would be Pentacles. We'll get to that last, obviously. So Ace of Wands, we're dealing with sort of like your reputation is sterling. Like everybody has seen the evidence of your like magnanimity and your amazingness, and like it's not in question essentially. Your reputation and you is flawless. And then with the Ace of Cups, it's like you personally feel validated. You personally know that it's what it needs to be. This is like, I don't need to have anybody's opinion about this because I feel confident and I feel sure about it. Now, does that mean that you're correct? No, not necessarily. It can mean you're correct, but whether or not you're correct, the point is that you feel like you are. And so the Ace of Cups is more about like internal knowing, to the extent that you're honest with yourself, that knowing can be smaller or greater, right? Then we get to ye old Ace of Pentacles. Okay, obviously we're dealing with Earth, we're dealing with the environment, we're dealing with the physical body, we're dealing with the physical body rules. So we're dealing with like the emotional body and the intellectual body and the erotic body and the familial body and the communal body and the physical body, all those things. And then Pentacles dealing with like finances, foundation, reaping what we sow, lineage, legacy. And so for me, when it comes to the Ace of Pentacles, it's like it's the tough ace, because you will be victorious if you put the work in. And if you don't put the work in, you will not have the victory that you seek, right? So with the Ace of Pentacles, it's like, yeah, you're gonna get that reward, but it's gonna be after labor. It's gonna be after ideally not backbreaking work, but like depending on how much effort you want to put into this thing and how much you want the outcome that you're looking for. Basically, you have to do everything in your power with the Ace of Pentacles. Once you've done everything in your power, then you have to trust that the victory is given. But also with Pentacles, the victory is not necessarily like quick, you know, Earth is slow. So unlike water, air, and fire, with the Ace of Pentacles, it's like you need to have faith in the work, because if you believe the work is good, then you have to trust that the results will be good. Just like if you put the seed in the ground, you have to trust that as long as you treat them the way that they need to be treated, that you will have a harvest. So Ace of Pentacles is really one of the cards that I feel like the ones that require the most faith are Ace of Pentacles and Ace of Swords. But Ace of Pentacles is at least up to everything that you can do. And then once you've done everything that you can do, you have to give it to existence, give it to Earth, and trust that you will see the fruits of your labor when they bloom, which is when they want to, because it's on their time. It's on the time of the actions that you want to see manifested. So just like you have to have, well, whatever. As you know, I say you don't have to do anything, but like in the way that you have confidence in anything that you have confidence in is the same way with the Ace of Pentacles. You need to have confidence in the work that you put in. So it's like, if I'm going to trust the cards because I read them professionally, then I'm going to have confidence in the motherfucking cards. And so if they give me a specific message, I'm not going to need a rapid fire change of that response. I'm going to marinate on that. I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to chew on it until I understand it, because I trust the cards. So, you know, basically you have to learn to trust life. This is why the Ace of Pentacles is not easy. But let's see. That's the concern, though. I mean, if that's the concern, that's a good place to start. Obviously, if we're talking about the reverse of that, it's like, oh, I was just writing about this. I just wrote about this. Give me a second, because I have a quote for you. Zoom. Hoodwinked, bamboozled. Okay, so my quote is, why am I resistant to put the work into myself when I want the work to be put into me? Okay. So when Ace of Pentacles is reversed, it's like you want all reap and no, you want all sow and no reap, right? You want all reward and you want no work. Or you want to do as little as possible with the same gains that you have witnessed people who you have no idea how much work they put in Like, we can see some of the work, for instance, that Beyonce puts in, and that's why she has a reputation. But that has no bearing on like what that takes of her on a day-to-day basis. So if you want the work put into you, then you got to be willing to put the work in. And also, you know, I've been writing about mastery lately because aces are masterful, because it's that jump into the major arcana, right? That jump into our spiritual contract, our higher spiritual purpose. And, you know, people like mastery is not all it's made out to be, okay? Because people see the glory, okay? They don't see the struggle. And so with mastery, why am I resistant to put the work into myself when I want the work to put into me? Because when you become aware of a master, you are seeing the fruits of the labor, okay? You're seeing the things that they have been working towards their whole lives, respectively, not just in their field, but in their character, right? Because it's like there are plenty of amazing artists who could not keep up a tour schedule like Beyonce. Whitney Houston, incredible artist, but personally, she was not doing the work to keep up a tour schedule, to keep up her voice, any of those things. Celine Dion, amazing artist, did keep up the work, still had something to deal with. Now she has a health issue. So it's like, it's not, I mean, I'm not saying that's symptomatic of not doing the work, but I'm saying that like, if you having the skill alone is not enough. Okay. And if you want to be blessed, then you have to be doing your work in your lane. But also if you want the work put into you, then you cannot just want the effect that the work gives you, because that effect is based on tangible, actionable, actual things. It's not based upon feelings, you know, it's like not based upon desires. These people, these masters weren't just sitting at home being like, I wish I was the best at how I do this. There was backing that up. So why am I resistant to put the work into myself when I want the work to be put into me? Is because you're thinking that reward is based on how you feel, and reward is not based on how you feel, especially when we're in the Ace of Pentacles. Reward is based on what you do. Okay, so how are we treating the concern? Opportunity obstacle card. Is it a stepping stone? Is it a roadblock? What are we doing? And we have, oh, girl, we have the Page of Cups. Okay, don't shoot the messenger. We jump from Pentacles to Cups, you know, emotional intelligence, creativity, liquids, water, obviously, one-on-one relationships, not necessarily just romantic, but because the one-on-one relationship that is romantic can create a person, which is the most autonomous creation you can make, right? Because you make a person, but that person does not have to like you just because you made them, okay? So it rules all that. And then, of course, emotional intelligence, which you should know, viewer, is for me at least a 5-step process. Step 1 is you feel away. Step 2 is you recognize you feel away because you have to validate your own feelings. Step 3 is you look back on your personal history, you review, you think about the people, places, and things in the past that have also made you feel similarly, if not the same way. Step 4, you decide, do I like feeling this way? And based on all those 4 steps, you take step 5, which is you make an action. You take an action. Now, if you like feeling that way, obviously you invoke more of the people, places, and things that made you feel that way. And if you didn't like feeling that way, then you invoke less of the people and places and things that make you feel that way. But that's the 5 steps, okay? So with the pages, I have a little story about the pages too. I'm about to have a little story about all these motherfuckers, okay? So like the messengers in the royal court, we have the page, the knight, the queen, the king, and the ace in the traditional language, okay? And so with the page is the one that has to do what every other card in that set tells it to do. The knight does not have to do what the page says it has to do, but it usually has to do what the queen has to do, what the king says it has to do. And obviously ace, it has to do what its destiny is. The queen does not necessarily need to respond to the king, right? Like the queen and the king are equal figures. You can rule as a queen, you can rule as a king. Either way, you're head of a monarchy. So with the page is the lackey, right? So the page is, that's why we say don't shoot the messenger, because it's like that motherfucker doesn't have a choice. Got to deliver the message. So I like to tell a story about how each page goes about leaving the message, right? So the Page of Swords is like, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna see what it is. I'm not gonna dilly dally. I'm gonna take care of everything at home just in case I get my head chopped off. And I'm gonna go to the quickest means possible because I don't like my time wasted. And once I'm done with the job, I have time to myself again. And I can be out of harm's way if I am in harm's way, ideally, right? Because the Page is an idealist, okay? to not to not to be okay with being shot just for doing your job, that makes you an idealist, okay? Which obviously police are not. So with the Page of Wands, right? The Page of Wands is like, ugh, like, why do I gotta do this shit again? Always them, never me. So the Page of Wands is like, I'm gonna do everything I love to do before I have to deliver this message in the event that I die. So like, I'm gonna enjoy myself on the way to the wherever the message needs to be delivered, and I'm going to do it with all my favorite groups and people. You know, people are going to hear that I was on the way, so that like if I don't come back, they send people after me, or at least they know my last steps. You know, it's a very public sort of thing. The Ace of like the Page of Swords will go in like the dead of night, undercover. No one sees them. The Ace of Wands is like high noon, waving in the streets, being like, I have a message from the king. You know, they want to be known so that they're protected by their reputation. Then with the Page of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles is going to do what makes most sense for the environment, right? So they're like, okay, king told me to send this message, but the king has been acting kind of crazy. So I'm gonna have to verify this with the queen and the knight before I even get on the horse. Because you're not gonna have me out there for no reason, right? Not gonna have me in these elements. So the Page of Pentacles is gonna check with each group to make sure to verify on all grounds that like the message needs to be delivered. Once that's the case, you know, the Page of Pentacles is checking the motherfucking weather. You know, they're like, all right, do I need a raincoat? You know, they're gonna be planned. They're going to get there comfortably. They're not going to rush. Okay. They will stop for meals and they will stop to sleep because they need to deliver the message well. And if they're sleep deprived or rushed, they might fuck that up. So they're like going to ensure their safety every step of the way. Now, our old friend, the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups is like, oh, God, all right, another message, another day. I might as well do this in the way that is the most pleasurable to me. So I'm going to take my favorite route down the river. Yes, it does take a few extra days, but it's very beautiful. And I will be in a good mood when I get there, which means that everybody else will be in a good mood. So, you know, the Page of Cups is going to center like, all right, I know I have to do this thing, but I'm going to enjoy myself. And it's not so much like Wands where it's about being acknowledged and recognized and noticed. For the Page of Cups, it's about feeling good. So, you know, they're going to pack their favorite lunch. They're going to also stop at their favorite restaurant. They're not going to tell a motherfucker alive that they're the Page. They want to be left the fuck alone. Okay. They just want to do their job, but they want to enjoy themselves as they're doing their job. So with the Page of Cups, on that ace for Black History Month, first of all, like, I don't know what the third and fourth card are going to be, but this is looking positive, which, I mean, I don't want to sound like that is a surprise, but I really more feel like, you know, there's always like a fresh horror in Black History Month. There's always some terrible thing that happens. So sometimes I walk into the month with walking on eggshells because I'm concerned that like humanity is going to drop the ball again, because that's just like how we stay alive. But these vibes, this Ace of Pentacles, this Page of Cups, I mean, also though, with the Ace of Pentacles, it's like, you must do the work. And with the Page of Cups, it's like, and be real about your feelings. And not everybody likes to be real about their feelings, okay? Some people don't like to like what they like for their own reasons that I don't know. And when you don't like to like what you like, that creates like like a infinite loop of sort of self-loathing, because then you're going to loathe yourself for liking what you like instead of not invalidating what you like simply because it's not someone else's normal. And so I feel like this is a month where it will become more and more apparent what you actually enjoy. And that might even surprise some people, right? Because there might be company that you've kept for a really long time, platonic, professional, communal, familial, romantic, whatever. And there could be a moment this month where you're like, I don't like you, or I don't care. You know, someone's talking and you're literally like, wow, this person's like so emotional about this thing, and I don't give a fuck. Now, obviously, this could be about your own personal work that you need to do, because obviously the messenger is not just you to other people, it's you to you. But at the same time, it could be an indication of like where you have no spoons, where you have no bandwidth, where you literally have, what do they call it when I was the complaints department at an animal hospital corporation? Compassion fatigue. Okay. That's the corporate way of saying gives no fucksness. Okay. So when you actually have nothing to give someone, yeah, some people don't like to like what they like. I mean, nihilism is that way, right? Like, woe is me suffering. It's very Eeyore donkey, you know. It's like a denial type of denial, which is very religious in a way, to deny yourself what you like. So with the Page of Cups piggybacking on that Ace of Pentacles, I just want you to know that you might be surprised at how and when your emotions arrive. And in a typical trickster sort of way, when our emotions surprise us, that's when we have like those Jerry Maguire moments, right? When we take an action rapidly based on feelings, right? You go through this, you don't go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you go 1, 5. Okay. So when you have a Jerry Maguire moment, you're like, oh, I feel a way, and now I have reacted upon that feeling, and I did not take much time to review the feeling. So now those actions, I can't account for all of that. I didn't intend to account for all of that. And so if you are not attending to your emotional state this month, then the actions that you take are going to be reflective of that lack of awareness. So maybe you'll say yes to something at work you should have said no to and feel overwhelmed or resentful. Or maybe you'll recognize that you don't want to have that relationship that you've been putting so much energy into maintaining, whether that be platonic or romantic, professional, whatever. Even a relationship with a project, right? You might be like, I was so excited for this, and now I don't want to do this. So I'm not going to do this branching off, or this promotion that I got, or this whatever. I'm going to say no thanks to what I had originally said thanks to. Rescinding your offer. But if your shit is in alignment with that Ace of Pentacles is the concern, and that Page of Cups, I think that we are closer and closer to our most authentic self, with that physical action and physical intelligence, and that emotional action and that emotional intelligence in greater alignment. Now we move on to the advantage or the aversion card from Manzel Tarot. And for that, we have Eight of Swords. Can you hold back the tide? No, you cannot hold back the tide. So, swords. I'm so curious as to whether the key card will be Wands from the Dust to Onyx, and we're getting Captain Planet, you know what I mean? But with the Eight of Swords being in the advanced version, first of all, this card used to harass me before I started reading tarot cards. And once I started reading tarot cards, then it was the Hierophant that harassed me. But before, it was the Eight of Swords. And, you know, swords is associated with air, intellectualizing our emotions, right? Intellectualizing our emotions is like, wow, I hate this apartment. I absolutely love it. And then your mind being like, you can't afford to load this apartment, you broke bitch. Just be grateful that you have a roof over your head, etc., etc. Okay. Now, this does not validate the emotions, feelings, and it also does not eliminate the emotions, feelings. So when you validate your feelings with your intellect, all you're saying is, I don't care how I feel. Okay. when obviously you do, or you wouldn't be upset. So it's that denial story. Okay. So with the Eight of Swords, and you know our eights are always flipping to the side and dealing with that infinite, and paradoxical, existential sort of clause contract. But the Eight of Swords, especially in the traditional tarot, you are the key to your own liberation. You are the person who's most equipped to set yourself free from bondage. And that's not to say that you didn't have experiences in the past of the Eight of Swords that led you to be in bondage, but that once you got there, there came a time where it was you keeping yourself there and not the circumstances that brought you there anymore. It was you believing that the circumstances were perpetual. It was you believing that the circumstances' only purpose was for you to suffer in the way that others told you to suffer. No one gets to decide for you what an experience does for you. You carry it forward. You choose how you use the experience. This is a very hard lesson to learn, and it's one that I'm still practicing all the time. But one of my teachers is like, existence is fundamentally neutral. So events, actions, experiences are fundamentally neutral. And the correction there is, or the direction there, I should say, it's not a correction, is when that is said, people think, oh, well, then does that mean when someone does something horrible to me, it's neutral? No, that wasn't that person's intent. They were coming from a negative place for that, so that action was intended negatively. But once the action has taken place, it's then yours. And from there, it can be neutral as long as you decide you're going to use it in a way that's neutral. Now, obviously, you have to deal with emotions and like actual repercussions. But once you're not in the shock and the throes of having to deal with the experience, aka being in the experience, once the experience is over, the person is no longer there harassing you or whatever it was like. From that point on, the experience is neutral because you get to decide whether you use it to positively affirm yourself, to neutrally affirm yourself, or to negatively affirm yourself. And there's no head police to ensure that you use it only in a negative way. There's a lot of social conditioning, there's a lot of nihilism, there's a lot of humanity being self-loathing. Yes, okay. But those two were choices. Nobody, no gun came from the clouds and they were like, act a fool, bitch, or die. Like, no one, that never happened. So that was a choice of many people over a long time, but you know, a choice all the same. So for the Eight of Swords to be about our character, what's helping or hindering us in the situation, it's like, do you want to be happy or not? Do you want to like what you like? And yo, let me tell you, this is like real, because I'm loving that I said it like that. Yo, let me tell you, this is like real, and all that stuff I said before wasn't. No, this is real because the reason that you take the higher road is because we often say that in the best of all possible worlds, I would be happy. And I also wrote in here, like, the only thing that's keeping me from my happiness, the only thing that can keep me from my happiness is me. Now, obviously, I'm speaking with quote unquote first world privilege. Okay. I have a roof over my head. I have water and food. I have the necessities that allow me to actually be alive in a way where I have the energy to be alive. Okay. If you're malnutrition, if you don't have water, if you don't have health, if you don't have shelter, and that's something that you want, right? Because not everybody who wanders is lost. Okay. Some motherfuckers just like being outside, bitch. But like, if you don't want that, and that's your situation, then you have some more pressing concerns that zap your attention, which doesn't make this untrue, but it makes it less prioritization, because some of us are just learning to exist, and some of us are learning to live, and some of us are learning to thrive. Okay. We're all at different stages of our own humanity based on what we have decided we would learn from our circumstances, and based on how existence has corresponded with our learning from those choices. But with this being sort of the cautionary card, for me, if you actually want to be happy, but you continue to do the behaviors or stay in the emotional states that do not foster happiness, then you are choosing in those moments to not be happy. And in those moments, we're saying circumstances matter more than the state of being that I prefer to have. And in co-signing that belief, you are distancing yourself from your power and from your autonomy, which says that any moment I can change my mind. Sorry, not sorry. This is probably going to go a little longer than I expected because it's February and these cards have a lot to say. But I want to read this one other thing I wrote from this article, which is actually for a magazine if I choose to take it. But I was just really channeling the message for today, so I just have to read it. I say, our relationship with existence supersedes our relationship with each other, because without existence, we would not have self or other. Not even the invention of humanity, no matter how much it fights to do so, can keep me from experiencing and witnessing and learning from all that existence is to me, is for me, is with me, and is of me. I am the only one who is within myself. So I am the only one who can decide from within what is without. Okay? But this is the point that I'm getting to. The I of me that I am and choose to identify with and or as at any time is limitless. I am made unlimited by the fact that I can change. At any moment, I can choose differently than I ever have previously. In doing so, I can create a ripple effect that shifts the dynamics of an entire ecosystem that was formerly simply my world, my country, my community, my family, as those definitions stand for me. Whatever me I may be at any given moment, which will always be up to the me of the moment, even when I think the me of the moment is beholden or contingent to the me of the past. I am always passing the baton of my identity to my future selves. Even then, I am only the past life of my future selves. They are always deciding how they will run their legs of our race. Together, we make an identity over the lifetime we are allotted by existence and each other. So the I of me that I am and I choose to identify with at any time is limitless, and it's unlimited because I can always change. And because I can always change, I can always change the circumstances that I'm in, because I can change the dynamics and the relationships I have to other people. And this is something that you learn, especially when somebody dies, which is like, no one can take that space, right? When my dad passed away for the first time, we all experienced what that was, because when someone's alive, you don't quite understand the cutout. You're busy interacting, you don't know. And then when they're gone, you're like, oh, that's what they added to that. And that's how they contributed. And that's how that balanced that shit out. So like, once that person's gone, there's no replacing them, but there's filling that space in different ways. And that's what people are forced to do when they don't have a choice, right? So whether that's because somebody dies or because somebody has mistreated you and you remove yourself from their life, or because, a way of life is no longer relevant for you, so you remove yourself from that way of life. Once you do that, everything around that has to account for the vacancy, because existence abhors a vacuum. Okay, so like, people have to fill that shit up. So as soon as you make a change, that vacancy needs to be filled. And if it's not going to be filled by you who was previously filling it, then that causes the ripple effect of who, what, when, where, why will fill it. But it won't be you, so your destiny will be different. And then you will be a different version of yourself, because you will have a different destiny. So with the Eight of Swords, you are the key to your liberation. Set yourself free. Stop hating. Lighten up on yourself. Like what you like, motherfucker. Like, it's all right. Okay, great. Good talk. Bi-monthly readers, really good. Seeing, I'm going to do this so that I know where to cut the video. So our key card